Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtedar, your host. And today I'm going to talk about a very important meeting that is going to be held tomorrow, that is on May 30th in Beijing. It is a summit of Arab leaders and Arab countries. Xi Jinping, the Chinese mm, president, is going to meet with uh, Arab leaders and they're going to discuss. This is the 10th Ministerial Conference of China Arab States Cooperation Forum. This forum was formed nearly 20 years ago in 2004, and this is their 10th Ministerial Conference. So, foreign ministers of all the Arab countries will be there, but there are also going to be four heads of states. So you will see the president of Tunisia, the president of Egypt, the king of Bahrain, and the Sheikh of the United Arab Emirates, and Xi Jinping himself is going to be attending this meeting that is tomorrow. Already today, and I think yesterday, the senior bureaucrats and ministers have already been meeting to set up the agenda. The goal is, as usual, dealing with trade and also basically energy and some kind of a strategic partnership in the arena of global trade. But this time, there is an additional security-related agenda on the table, which is to end the war in Gaza and to start rebuilding Gaza. So China is playing now a bigger role in the Middle East, given several reasons. So what I see this as a very important meeting. In fact, just as 2023 was a great year for India when it came to geopolitics, hosting the SCO summit and then going on to host a very successful G20 summit. And then Prime Minister Modi making visits to the Washington, speaking to the Congress, and being invited to a state dinner at the White House, visiting France, etc., was very important. It appears that 2024 is China's year for geopolitical achievements and successes. So Xi Jinping, after many years, made a whole tour of Europe, went to France and other places, including Serbia and Hungary. And he also did visit the Arab world just a year ago. And now he's hosting this major summit. I see that there are two important elements to this summit. One is, it is now clear that China is entering into the geopolitics in the Middle East. Until now, it was only focused on energy and trade. So there is a new dimension to China's engagement with the Middle East. But it is also a move in the China-US competition for global domination and China-India competition for the leadership of the global South. So the entire Muslim world, the Arab world, is an integral and if not an important part of the global South. So by being the leader of the Arab world in this way, Xi Jinping also positions himself to be an important voice for the global South. So in that sense, what's happening in Beijing should be of great concern to both Delhi as well as Washington, D.C. So I'm going to unpack some of the moves that Xi Jinping has been making in the Middle East in the past few weeks and try to see if we can get some sense of its significance and whether it is just showbiz or whether it is really of great strategic significance. But before that, subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with your social political network. And if you are of the mind, you can support the channel by also becoming a member of Khanversations. So tomorrow, China is going to meet with all these Arab countries, and there are four leaders there. The presence of especially Sisi and the United Arab Emirates, Nahyan, Prince Sheikh Nahyan, these two people are very important because they are leaders of different factions of the Arab world. United Arab Emirates is one of the most, shall we say, off the beaten track country that is really reaching out. It has great relations with India. It is part of I2U2, which is a quad with UAE, India, Israel, and the US. It was it played a lead role in the Abrahamic Accords in trying to normalize relations between the Arab world and Israel. It is a close partner of the United States, and it is also a close partner of the European countries. So in that sense, from a diplomatic perspective, UAE is a powerhouse. It's also a major trading partner for both India as well as China. So the presence of the Sheikh of the United Arab Emirates and also Sisi, in many ways, you could argue that Egypt is one of the most powerful militaries in the Arab world, is a leader very close to the United States. So these are all important partners of the United States, UAE, Egypt. Tunisian, the presence of the leader of the of Tunisia is not that significant, but it adds to the weight that there were 4 heads of states at the same time visiting Beijing. But there is more that is going on. In April, Xi Jinping basically hosted a reconciliation meeting between Hamas and Fatah, the two factions. Fatah governs the West Bank and Hamas governs Gaza. And they have been divided since 2006, 2007, actually after the elections of 2007. And so that has been one of the impediments in moving the Palestine-Israel dialogue forward and creating the two-state solution. The United States has never done this. The United States plays the role of the most important voice in the Arab-Israeli conflict, excludes the United Nations, does not allow any other country to play, but it has never tried to unify the Palestinian voice. While the Israelis always said we don't have a partner because the Palestinians are divided, the US continued to pressure Fatah from ever reaching out to Hamas, treating Hamas as a terrorist organization, which it is. Some of the actions of Hamas are clearly terroristic, but it was also a government in that sense in Gaza. So this step from China is very important. It's also very interesting that the Chinese are not just talking to Hamas. Even the Russians tried to bring Hamas and Fatah together a few months ago. Turkey could have played this role, but some of these countries, Russia, Turkey, and now China, and of course Qatar, by engaging with Hamas directly, they are undermining the Western narrative that Hamas is beyond the pale, a terrorist organization that does absolutely horrible works and should be destroyed. So while Israel and America are determined to destroy Hamas in Gaza, China is basically treating Hamas as a legitimate political actor and engaging with them, hosting them. So in April, they hosted a dialogue between Fatah and Hamas to completely reconcile the two. And they're going to host one again around 15th of June, I think 14th, 15th of June. Next month. So China is moving ahead. And in fact, China did provide a very specific explanation as to why they treat Hamas as a legitimate organization. So according to one of the Chinese foreign ministry, the legal voices, they say they are following the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 3070. So this is an important UN General Resolution 3070. As you can see, I am showing it to you here. According to Article 2 of this resolution, what it essentially does is reaffirms the legitimacy of the people's struggle for liberation from colonial and foreign domination and alien subjugation by all available means, including armed struggle. So basically, China is saying that what Hamas is indulging in is an armed struggle for freedom, and this is legitimate according to the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 3070. So that is the legal basis on which they are trying to bring these two together. So what's possible? I don't know what their whole plan is. How are they going to get the United States and Israel to accept Hamas while they are determined to destroy it completely, and in the process are committing basically engaging in a genocidal war in Gaza. So anyway, these are the two steps that Beijing is trying to take. And it has recently played a role. It has tried to bring Iran and and Saudi Arabia together. The two countries reconciled in Beijing, and now they have exchanged ambassadors, and even there is dialogue even at the ministerial level between the two countries. And China also tried to advance a peace process between Russia and Ukraine. As far as Russia and Ukraine is concerned, there's no movement forward. China's plan gives China a reason to say, look, we are being peaceful. We have even advanced a peace process. You guys, especially the West and Ukraine, which are not following our peace process, the West has not advanced a peace process so far. China has. And so in that sense, China gets to play the morally superior role in that particular conflict. But with regards to the Iran-Saudi Arabia reconciliation, I think what China has achieved is, and it was with the help of basically Oman as well as Iraq, who had been working on this for more than a couple of years. What China has done is basically made them exchange ambassadors, and they've opened embassies. But Saudi fears of Iran have not disappeared. If Saudi Arabia was not afraid of Iran, it would not be moving forward with regards to the Abrahamic Accords as they are right now. Many of the trips that Secretary of State of the United States, Antony Blinken, has made to Saudi Arabia is to advance the Abrahamic Accords. And so the Saudi Arabia's fears with Iran continues to shape its foreign policy. And Abrahamic Accords are essentially a response more to Iran than to anything else. And therefore, even though China has brought about some kind of reconciliation, it is not really a very serious peace process or some kind of significant achievement that impacted the geopolitics of the Middle East. Nevertheless, we cannot overlook the importance of China anymore. In 2004, when this partnership began, China's trade with the entire Arab world was just about $40 billion. Now it is $400 billion. It would have been a bit more if not for the Russia-Ukraine war, because China is now buying literally most of its energy from Russia, nearly $150 billion worth. Otherwise, if the Ukraine war was not on, I think China's trade with the Arab nations would have been over $500 billion. So this is an important progress or movement going on. There is a lot that is common, and you can see that one of the issues that has worried the populations of the Arab world is the Uyghur issue. China's absolute treatment of Uyghur Muslims in a horrendous fashion, discriminating them against religion. And everybody knows that China is committing a cultural genocide against Uyghur Muslims. And this has been going on for several years, undermining their identity, their religious practices, etc. So the Arab countries have remained quiet on this, which is quite surprising. Even Imran Khan at first pretended that nothing was happening, and then acknowledged that given the strategic importance of China, Pakistan could not say anything about this. Meanwhile, if you look at the other two players who are important for the global South and the Arab world, the United States and India, these two countries, the publics of these two countries are not happy with them. Obviously, there's so much anger in the Arab world with regards to Biden's ironclad support for Israel, daily sending weapons there, blocking Security Council, trying to protect Israel from war crimes, trying to protect it from the ICC, from ICJ. It's unbelievable. It's like a babysitter of a very naughty child, the United States. And so most people in the Arab world clearly believe that the 35 to 40,000 Palestinians who have died because of the United States is continuous support to Israel, not just in this war, but until now. And one of the reasons why the Palestinian state has not come into existence is because the United States has blocked all attempts by the international community to realize that. And even the Abrahamic Accords, so aggressively pushed by Donald Trump and now Biden, is essentially to sidestep the Palestinian issue and resolve and remove all resistance to Israel from the Middle East. So in that sense, there's a lot of anger in the public. And you can see that among Arab Americans and American Muslims who are part of the Democratic coalition but are willing to vote against Biden in November. So there is a lot of anger against Biden and therefore against the United States right now. More and more people in the Arab world do not trust the US anymore. Even when it comes to the Abrahamic Accords, it is very clear that the United States would have rather made Saudi Arabia a pariah state, as Biden promised in his election campaign. But it is only for Israel that the United States is willing to swallow its pride and reach out to Saudi Arabia. And Biden, when he went to Saudi Arabia and took that photo, the fist bump photograph with MBS, he explained to Americans that I'm doing this for Israel so that their Israeli planes can fly over Saudi Arabia. So everything that the American president apparently does is for Israel, not for America. So there is a lot of anger and perception in the Arab world, in the public, that America is nothing but an agent of Israel. So the reason why the United States is able to get a lot of things done in the Middle East, at least now that its credibility is so totally shattered, is because the Arab world is not a democracy. And so public opinion does not matter because these people are suppressing their own population. Even today in Saudi Arabia, you cannot freely criticize US policies and Israel in social media because the Saudis are trying to keep a lid on this. So because the entire Arab world is undemocratic, authoritarian, and dictatorial, if you just make friends with 10 or 12 people, then you have the whole region under your control. And that is what is happening right now, because these authoritarian governments, in order to protect the country as well as protect their own regimes and their own governance, tend to rely on the United States. The US is the biggest defender of authoritarianism, dictatorship, and monarchy in the Middle East. Without the US, these regions would have long become democratic. And with regards to India, one of the achievements of Indian foreign policy in the last 5 years was the close relationship that India has developed with Arab countries, particularly Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates. India has a lot of soft power in the Arab world. It's highly respected. But certain things, perception of Modi's government as a Hindu nationalist state, which is anti-Muslim and anti-Islam, can hurt India in its attempt to become the leader. Plus, India has done really nothing during this Gaza war. It just first initially tweeted supporting Israel, then a month or two later, after seeing the horrible stuff that Israel is doing, they reminded people that, oh, look, the previous governments, that is the Congress governments that passed, had recognized Palestine as a state. And so basically India then just shut up and did nothing subsequently. It may have sent some aid to Gaza several months ago, but basically India has not played any leadership role at all. It's supposed to be the voice of the global South, the leader of the global South. But in this major war in the Middle East, India is irrelevant. India is completely irrelevant to one of the most important political developments that have been going on for 7 months in the world. So in that sense, by China taking a lead as an alternative to the US, I think China is making major gains in becoming the voice of the Arab world, the voice of the global South, and also taking advantage of the decline of US credibility in the Middle East, in fact, in the rest of the world. So in that sense, this event tomorrow and China's effort to bring Hamas and Fatah together in order to make sure that the Palestinians have one voice going forward. That will be very important if there is going to be a dialogue and a negotiated solution to create a Palestinian state in West Bank and Gaza with parts of East Jerusalem. So in that sense, this is a very important step which the United States should have taken but has not. And so now China is really beginning to fill in the diplomatic leadership gaps that the US is leaving, and India is not stepping in. That's the point of this whole conversation, is to show how China is taking leadership of the global south while the US, India is not doing that. And it's not about the elections. The elections are something that just started. India could have done exactly this 5 months ago, 4 months ago, or even announced it and then planned to do. Modi announced that he would be attending the G7 summit in Italy, which is after the election. So similarly, they could have announced a conference to do exactly what China is doing. So I think that what we are seeing is an effort by China to resuscitate its own image. Just last week, I mean, my conversation that I did 2 days ago was about the leadership that China is trying to assert in East Asia. With regards to hosting, after 5 years, a summit with South Korea and Japan, where the president of South Korea hosting or initiating or calling for it, even though the meeting was held in Seoul, South Korea. China's premier was there, the Japanese prime minister was there, and of course the Korean president. So suddenly China is showing that it's willing to step up and try to play the role of a major global leader. And one way to do that is not just to help in development, but is also to help in bringing about security peace. All members of the Arab League, there are about 22 members of the Arab League, are all members of the Belt and Road Initiative. So in that sense, China has already got these countries to sign up to its economic partnership. And now it is also beginning to take a role. This is very worrisome. As an American, as a person of Indian origin. So as an Indian American, I find this challenge that China is posing both to India's leadership in the global south and the United States leadership in the world very troubling. I'm not very happy with the way the US is leading the world at the moment. The US is undermining the very rule-based order that it has created in 75 years, because the US is literally a slave to Israel and will destroy its own morality and all the institutions that it worked so hard to create just to protect Israel. So yes, I think the United States is doing a terrible disservice to US interests, to global interests in the past few months. It's basically uncritical and immoral support of Israel. And I'm also a bit disappointed with India that India, while it keeps on claiming that it is the leader of the global south, it has missed the opportunities to negotiate peace between Iran and Saudi Arabia, with whom it has good relations. India, unlike China, has good relations with Israel as well as with Iran. India could have intervened there. India also has good relations with the Palestinians and the Israelis, and India is very popular in some parts of the Arab world. In spite of all of this, India has not shown the kind of leadership role we would expect from a rising power that believes that it is next only to the United States when it comes to global stature. So that's why, as an Indian American, I'm both disappointed that both India and the US are leaving so much leadership space for China to occupy. I hope you found this conversation thoughtful and make you think about it and worry also with the changing nature of global diplomacy. So please subscribe to Khanversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share it with your social political network. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan. Take care.